Telling the Tale. I'm your host, Mitchell Farley Wolf, and I'm here as always with Dustin Jackson. Hey, Dustin, how's it going?
It's going very well, Mitchell. What up, my friend Slice?
Not much, friend Slice. Today we're going to be talking about Tales of Monkey Island, Episode 5, Rise of the Pirate God. Originally released on December 8th, 2009, directed by Mark Darren and Jake Rodkin. This is the finale of Telltale's Tales of Monkey Island game. It's the end of their use of the Monkey Island IP in general, and this is the current final Monkey Island game until next week. Until just a little bit from now, when it becomes not the current Monkey Island game anymore.
Yeah, something interesting that came up. So within the last couple days, we got a new, I don't want to really call it a trailer because it was just kind of like a 1 minute thing, but It was presented by Guybrush's voice actor, Dominic Armato. And one thing we learned from this is Guybrush will have a scrapbook in it that retells various events from across the series so far. So I think that pretty concretely puts it after Tales of Monkey Island.
Yeah, I think so too. At least a good part of the game.
Yeah.
I'm thinking it might be the case that, like, I'm just trying to reconcile everything that's been said about this game, which is difficult. There's a lot of conflicting stuff. It might be the case that it maybe starts in the theme park scene from Monkey Island 2, and then shows how that resolves, and then time skips to after Tales. Maybe that happens.
I'd be down for that.
Or maybe most of it or all of it is after Tales, and then there's like flashbacks to the theme park thing. Because like I guess the thing that I'm confused about is, how could it not do the theme park story? How could this game not do that? After just years of associating Ron Gilbert doing another Monkey Island game with the idea of trying to clean up the end of 2, which was always supposed to be carried on from directly, where Guybrush Threepwood had been warped into a modern-day theme park out of Pirate World.
Yeah.
But it just doesn't look like it. It just doesn't look like this game's doing it. So I don't know. Maybe it just isn't.
Yeah, I mean, Ron Gilbert's gone on record saying that a lot of his thoughts on what this game should be have changed over the years. So who knows? Maybe he'll just say, all right, what happened in the past isn't important. What's happening now is what's important. But we can't say it's not out yet. I guess I'm excited to see.
Yeah, so by the time you, the listener, are listening to this episode, it will only be 5 more days until Return to Monkey Island comes out. Which might mean, in your mind, that you're getting this episode of the show, then 5 days, a new Monkey Island game, and then 2 more days, an entirely new episode of the show. Keep dreaming. Not what we're doing.
You thought you had it.
You thought you understood our schedule. Not a chance. So
guess again, buddy.
I don't know why this is an antagonistic schedule update.
I'm sorry.
No, it's my fault. I started it. But the idea that we're going to go for here is we're going to do this episode now. Episode 5 of Tales of Monkey Island, Rise of the Pirate God. You're listening to it. You're in it. If you are hearing it now, we succeeded. We're going to do that, and then we're going to wait 2 weeks after that episode comes out so that we have enough time, we're giving ourselves enough time to play through Return to Monkey Island, and then we're going to do an unnumbered, very special episode on Return to Monkey Island.
I can't wait, our very first, very special episode.
Especially considering how much this upcoming Monkey Island game seems to be a direct continuance of all Monkey Island games. Then, yeah, it's a direct sequel to a Telltale game. We're going to cover it, even if it is not itself a Telltale game or in the Telltale episodic format.
Yeah, and I think the break helps since we don't really want to... Like, Monkey Island games are rarely ever long, but I still feel like it's nice to give us a comfortable amount of time to let it sink in.
Yeah, I'm trying to sort of base my expectations for scope and length off of Thimbleweed Park, the studio's previous game. It was also a point-and-click adventure. That game was longer than I thought it would be.
Wow.
But not such a long game. Let me look it up right now. How long to beat Thimbleweed Park? I'm thinking in my mind it was like 18 hours or something.
That's a long time for a point-and-click game.
Okay, it might not have been that long. It might have been more like 15, because I'm looking at how long to beat, which is a website full of liars, but all those liars are saying the main story is about 10 and a half hours, the main plus extra is 14, and completionist is 15 and a half hours on that game.
Right, and that's a stone cold fact, they're saying?
Well, they're saying it's a fact, like all liars do, but yeah, that's sort of the trick with liars and how they want you to believe their lies. That's the thing with liars is if they didn't want you to believe the lies, they'd be as honest as anyone else.
That's true. You need the fools to believe you.
Yeah, if you said, "Hey, don't believe this, sky's purple," I'd be like, "Thanks for warning me. I don't even care that you lied." But if you make me believe it, shame on you, man.
I'm glad you came clean in the end.
Yeah. So I'm really excited about that game.
Same.
I'm maybe doubly excited about that game because playing through... Oh, so sorry, let me just finish the thought here. After the very special episode on Return, 2 weeks later, we're going to take another 2-week break after that. We're going to come back with an episode on CSI Deadly Intent, and we're going to try to cover every case in that game in one podcast episode.
Yeah.
And then we'll return to our normal one episode per episode of the podcast formula.
I feel like that's a good way to do it, because after 2 CSI games, I don't think we're going to have as much to say about... Who knows, maybe they really change it up, but I don't think it will.
Yeah, so it's supposed to change a bit because of the addition of Lawrence Fishburne, which supposedly has impacted the tone of how the show went and maybe how the game is portraying that narrative as well. And Lawrence Fishburne just being in the game is going to be pretty fun, I think.
Yeah.
So that's interesting, but on a mechanical level, I don't expect it to change so much.
Exactly, yeah. But hey, there'll be plenty of spatter for all.
Spatter, splatter, spitter, Splitsville, like all of
Spooter.
Spooter. Spooter's gonna be in this game, and we will tell you all about him.
I can't wait to meet Spooter.
Spooter's gonna be a really cool CSI character,
unless he like dies right away.
But I'm fine to jump into something that maybe we might not like as much, just putting our bias out there, because I really liked this episode that we played for this week.
Same.
Loved it.
Adore this episode.
Very easily my favorite in the season.
Yeah, when I first played through it many a year ago, I put episode 4 over this episode, but now I think this one's definitely the best. And that's a good situation to be in. I feel like not often does a Telltale season really... Like, I don't think they have bad endings, but I think it's rare to find a Telltale season where the best one is the very last one. Like, they just nail the landing perfectly.
Let me think. I liked the last episode of Back to the Future the most, I think.
Oh man, I don't remember my feelings on the Back to the Future. I guess I might too, just because it's the one with the most interesting things happening.
I liked the last episode of Walking Dead Season 2 the best out of Season 2, for sure.
Ooh, interesting. I don't know, I guess so.
Yeah, I don't think it's true for any of the Sam and Max seasons.
Yeah, like even I think the last episode of each season is good, but I don't think any are like my favorites. Even season 3, I think the ending's good, but I think it might be like in the middle just because there's a couple other episodes that are just so good.
Yeah, the film episode of season 3 of Sam and
That's
Max.
my favorite.
It's so good. Yeah, and then the episode with the boss fight against the puppet is great. What's the puppet's name?
Charlie Hotep.
Charlie Hotep. Yeah. That's a great episode as well. I think both of those are better than the last episode in the series.
I think for a season like Tales of Monkey Island, one where the through line in the story is a little more prevalent, I think it might be important for the last episode to be the best one. Like I feel like if you have a strong first episode, like if your first episode is the best one and it's all downhill from there, that's not good. But I don't know, it just makes it elevates the whole season for me, I think, when it ends on just a really good note.
Well, the beginning and the end of anything, I would argue, are the most important parts of them. So maybe it's a bad thing that third season of Sam and Max doesn't really do that so much, because episodes 2 and 4 are the best. All right. I guess... Yeah, but with this game, I really do think, on further reflection, my favorite episodes are episode 1 and 5. And 5 a lot more than 1.
Wow, you put 1 that high up, huh?
Well, yeah, I kind of didn't get anything in episodes 2, 3, and 4 that captured the feeling of adventure I had in 1, even just being stuck on the one island. There was a lot to do in getting like a feel for the culture of the island, learning about characters, learning about the lore and the interaction between various elements of the environment, like the Marquis de Sage and the newspaper and the wind and the jungle. It all came together really well. The introduction of Winslow was super fun.
Winslow's great.
And then everything else in the game, except for some brief returns to that kind of feeling of environment inside the manatee, or in the process of trying to free yourself from prison in episode 4. I didn't get that feeling as much from those.
All right. I can see that. I think for me, that's interesting that you put 1 so high, because I think it might be my least favorite episode. Not because it's bad. I just think it gets better and better as it goes. So I would actually rank... I would just rank them like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
In order. It just every episode weirdly got better for you.
I think that's the only Telltale season where that's how it works for me.
Huh. Very interesting. Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that even if I think 1 is maybe the second best episode in this season, the upward curve is still visible in my rankings. It gets better as you go through it, for sure. At least on average. But let's talk about this episode. Guybrush died at the end of the last one, so you don't do much as him.
Yeah, it's a really short episode.
But that's actually a lie, because you play as dead Guybrush through most of it. You get sort of woken up on the river Styx. You find the crossroads that have been on the rug thing that the voodoo lady has the whole time. Yeah. Do you know what I'm talking about?
On the rug the voodoo lady had the whole time.
Yeah, so the voodoo lady's rug has the whole map of the crossroads on it.
Holy crap, I never noticed.
And she's always talking about the crossroads. And
I guess I wasn't listening.
She's mentioned, I think, in passing, probably in previous Monkey Island games too, just throwaway lines of like, oh, the voodoo will come from the crossroads, and like other things that I think you're not really supposed to pay that much attention to. But hey, we're there now. The crossroads.
Yeah, I love the way this pirate purgatory looks. I was talking to another friend about it the other night about how lonely it feels.
Yeah.
Like, it feels like this is meant to be like a pirate's paradise. You know, you can go to the different levels of the purgatory, I guess, and there's like treasure hunting, there's thievery, and sword fighting, which all call back to the original trials in the first Monkey Island game.
Yeah.
But it should be like a pirate's dream, but it makes it feel so lonely and isolated. You can really feel that this is not a place Guybrush wants to stay.
Yeah, in every room that you're in, you're one of max 2.5 people. And most of the time, it's just you by yourself in that room in the Crossroads. But despite having this feeling of loneliness, which I would normally say is probably a very bad thing for a point-and-click adventure game to have, because these games are built on interactions with the environment, with the people and the things around you. And if there's no people and the environments are very sparse, you don't get much out of it. But I think it's a testament to the art and the music and the sound and the writing that makes you see that and not just think, oh man, there's nothing here. And it makes you think like, wow, this is dire. This is something I really don't want to deal with right now.
It does a good job of I guess raising the stakes. Like, you can, even though there's not anything really going on here, you definitely feel like we got to get out of here. This is bad. LeChuck is really just going crazy on the world right now.
Yeah, did you know LeChuck is French for the Chuck?
It's true. He is the Chuck.
Yeah.
I hadn't thought of that.
So, one of the first things that you see in this episode is the ferryman, who... It's interesting because we know that Monkey Island has this crossover DNA with Sea of Thieves that has its own ferryman, who is not this design. But I love the design for this ferryman.
I adore the ferryman. Even before playing this, that design is one of the things I remembered so clearly because it's just so cool.
Yeah, listener, if you don't know what we're talking about, go ahead and Google Tales of Monkey Island Ferryman.
You'll be glad you did.
It'll look like, if it's some bones, you did it right.
Good job.
He's just I don't normally gravitate very strongly toward Grim Reaper designs because I think that they are all very similar.
That's interesting.
The black coat.
Yeah. It's hard. It's not a lot of Grim Reaper designs get very creative. I think I still lean towards them just because it's such a cool concept and look. And there's tons of similar Grim Reaper characters, and I just love them all. But I'm glad that this one has... It still has, like, the coat, the skeleton, but it does it in a very unique way.
Yeah, the shape is interesting. Just the silhouette of its shape is weird, and I don't know how to describe it. It's just bones in a coat again, but it's maybe my favorite iteration of that since I don't know, Billy and Mandy, maybe.
Oh, I love Grim and Billy and Mandy.
Yeah, I love him, but he is still kind of just the thing.
Yeah, I guess it just depends on how you do it, and this does it very well.
Mm-hmm.
And good performance on him too. I love the voice.
Yeah, very good. So he takes you to the center of the crossroads, and you're right. What you were saying before, you go through some trials of thievery, sword fighting, and treasure hunting.
Yeah,
and you do that just because that's what pirates are supposed to do in the afterlife. You hear a rumor that LeChuck came back to life by doing these things, so maybe you could do that too. But that's not even really true. You just find out how he did it in other ways, and you eventually recreate that. But I love the idea of like, hey, you're just in the afterlife. Rather than expressly starting you on the path to not be in the afterlife anymore, we're going to have you just do some of what you do in the afterlife and get a sense of that before we move you on in the episode's narrative.
Yeah, I like that. And, there's puzzles you can do here. Little things so you're not just wandering around, but overall you're just kind of getting the lay of the land.
Yeah. I think these trials are so depressing.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, because it's meant to be like, oh, you love these things. It's meant to actually be an unironic, non-monkey's paw heaven for pirates. Mm-hmm. But then you go to the treasure hunting area, and there's just a bunch of X's on the ground, and there's treasure underneath every X. And the guy who's digging stuff up there is like, hey, I wonder what's going to be under the next X. And he's got mountains of gold behind him, and he's just doing this for eternity.
Yeah,
he's done with other things. He's only doing this now. That is so depressing.
Yeah. One thing I like about this is all of the dead people well, not all of them, but a good chunk of the dead people you might hear are the pirates who tried to ambush LeChuck in episode 2 for the Golden Turtle.
Yeah.
All those classic, lovable characters.
Yeah, it's interesting that they made a comeback out of everyone. But, yeah, I'm glad that is the case. I think maybe it would have been stronger if these were wholly original characters that they could design for the moment, but I understand why they did not do that. Yeah,
something I was thinking about last night was how this episode really doesn't have a whole lot new in it. There's no new character. Well, there's some new characters like Caleb, who we'll get to in the Ferryman, but like it has a lot of returning characters, a lot of returning locations, and normally I'd say I don't think that's a good thing, but I think for the big finale of the season, I like that like everything's built up to this, so you're like revisiting the locations you've seen all throughout the season, meeting up with characters all throughout the season. I think now is the best time to do something like that.
It really gives me vibes of season 2, episode 4 of Sam and Max.
The time travel?
Chariot of the Dogs, I believe it's called.
That's the one.
Is that what it's called?
Yeah, Chariot of the Dogs.
It just doesn't make sense that it's called that.
It's about Bosco.
Yeah, it's about the time travel and spaceships and Bosco and ways to travel to basically any moment in the series that we've seen so far. This is like that, but instead of sci-fi and portals, it's just tears between the overworld and the underworld in a pirate mythos fashion.
Right.
It's cool. It's really cool. Once you do all those things, you happen upon via a very long process. We should talk about Morgan. In the sword fighting area.
I love this part a lot.
Yeah, you go to the sword fighting area, and there's a guy who's clearly like, oh, this is the sword guy. He's got a sword through his head, and also his head is off.
This is the sword guy.
Yeah, and then Morgan's just sort of standing there being like, I'm depressed that I'm dying, and very understandable. You find out that LeChuck killed her, not Marquis de Sange.
Yeah. Whoops.
So, in order to both cheer her up and satisfy the Swordmaster, you need to do a very interesting version of insult sword fighting.
I love this.
It's so clever. I love. This is one of my favorite puzzles it's one of my favorite dialogue anything that we've done in a Telltale game so far. It's
Agreed,
so clever.
Totally.
So, did he write any of these down? Because I neglected to do that to get an example.
I also forgot to write any. I was just enthralled by what was going on that I didn't write any down. But the way it works is you're sword fighting both Morgan and Mr. Swordman at the same time, and you're doing a take on insult sword fighting where both Morgan and this guy will say something to you, and you need to find the response that builds Morgan up and insults the other guy.
Let's see. I'm looking on the monkeyisland.fandom.com. I hate this website. I hate fandom so much. I'm looking for if they have some Morgan Le Fay stuff. They don't.
Thanks, Fandom Wiki.
Thanks, bud. Okay, so yeah, the general thing is your answer has to be able to be interpreted in a way that is both an insult to the Swordmaster and a compliment to Morgan at the same time, based on what they said to you. This is so hard to talk about without an example. Well, just imagine it. It's probably pretty fun in your head. You cheer Morgan up, and then she's sort of back on your side, and she has the attitude of like, well, even if I betrayed and disappointed Guybrush Threepwood, my idol, I am now still able to help him out, trying to go back to life and kill LeChuck and save Elaine and everything. So she's back on your side. And once you go through all the underworld stuff, you open a portal back to the real world that requires a sacrifice in your name. And Morgan shows up, and she offers to sacrifice something in Guybrush's name, and it looks like her shred of life, but it's not. Because Guybrush has a shred of life. That's like the thing he was holding on to. Apparently, when you die, everyone knows this. When you die, you carry one thing that you were holding on to at the time of your death into the afterlife. So
yeah, the thing that's most important to you.
Yeah, so to Guybrush, that was not dying.
That's a good one.
So he kept a shred of life. To Morgan, it was her reputation.
Yeah, she says she's willing to sacrifice that for Guybrush to go back. She says, oh, that's something I can just build up again.
Yeah, so I wonder what that means. Like, if you sacrifice your reputation in the underworld, does everyone who's still alive just suddenly not remember her? Or they don't remember her exploits, or don't think of her as fondly?
I think so. I'm guessing, yeah, she just kind of fades away. No one really has any interest in her and who she was or what she did.
Huh, okay.
So, before you continue, I have a video up that has, of this part, and I can give you an example of this puzzle that we're so fond of.
Cool.
Okay, so first, the Swordman says, I'm the most cunning pirate on the 7 seas. Do you know what my IQ is, boy? And then Morgan says, hold on, I gotta... she says, seriously, on a scale of 1 to 10, how terrible a person am I? So you have to find the thing to say that makes her feel better and him feel worse. And so Guybrush says, -1, if that.
Good. That's a good one. That is... most of them are non-number based, too.
Yeah, some of them are direct callbacks from the original game, too.
Yeah, you can't say that without giving an example, though. So what do you mean? This is probably not good pod. We can move on.
Yeah, just take our word for it that it's good.
So eventually Guybrush finds out how to come back, but he's a ghost. And by the way, I want to talk about his ghost design, because it's the same character model, but it's just a little bit see-through, and you can see bones inside him.
I love it. It's so cool.
Well, it really stuck out to me because it looks like the ghost characters in Return to Monkey Island from even that first trailer. had this
Oh, shit,
same
you're
sort of
right.
aesthetic where you just see their sort of bluish transparency, but then there are bones inside that are kind of just floating around being bones. And it's not all the bones, it's like some bones.
It's just a couple bones.
Yeah. And they're not jointed together. They're sort of like abstractly floating away from each other.
Yeah. But it's very cool. I guess that never really occurred to me just because the ones in Return are so stylized. This one is cool, but it's a little more subtle. Like Guybrush is see-through, but I feel like you gotta kind of be looking for it to really notice. Like if you're not paying attention, you might just be like, "Oh, Guybrush is a blue ghost," but it's very cool.
Yeah. So he comes back to life on the Screaming Narwhal, which LeChuck has taken. Wait, no, this is not the Screaming Narwhal. Is it?
On the ship?
LeChuck's ship, no.
No, this is not the Screaming. It's way too big to be the Screaming Narwhal.
Yeah,
I think it's just a ship LeChuck had.
Quite a large galleon.
It has the big skull on it. So, yeah.
So LeChuck is full voodoo mode. He's just nasty. He's in his old green skin form, and he keeps talking to Elaine as if she's kind of on his side, and then Elaine says something very interesting. Where do I have it? Elaine was in on it. Elaine was allowing LeChuck to get this far because she wanted LeChuck to expose the voodoo lady. So both Elaine, who we associate as being a good character, and LeChuck, a bad guy, are both really, really mad at the voodoo lady. They don't like her. And I think even though we get a lot of help from her in this episode for Guybrush to do the things he wants to do, I'm ending this episode, I guess we're skipping ahead a little bit, still thinking, yeah, she's probably messed up. She probably really sucks.
Yeah, that's what they're implying in that post-credit scene, I would believe. And I wonder if that's something they'll follow up in Return. I have a feeling they might not, but it'd be interesting if they do.
It would be interesting for someone other than Telltale to run with that particular thread. Although I think it'll be addressed, I just don't think it'll be the point or anything.
Yeah.
Maybe not.
That's something I'm very interested in going into Return, like, because Tales sets up, like, it brings in a lot of new elements, sets up a lot of stuff, and I wonder, like, we know some stuff is referenced, like, we see the scrapbook picture of Elaine fighting Morgan from episode 4, but I wonder if, like, any of the big stuff will be there, like, Reginald Van Winslow, I think, should just be a mainstay Monkey Island.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but I don't know if he will be.
Reginald,
we haven't seen
Morgan Le Fay. These are good characters.
These should be major characters. I think more so than a lot of characters that are coming back. Like Wally's coming back. The 3 pirate elders from the first game. I would put both Morgan and Winslow above, like, anyone else.
Yeah, like Murray's coming back, and like I get that Murray's funny, but I want to see Winslow a lot more. I want to see Morgan.
Yeah,
these characters have really endeared themselves to me over this playthrough.
Same. I guess the thing with Murray is since he's more of a gag character, it's so easy to just fit him in anywhere. So he wouldn't be like a big commitment to the story to just throw in any Monkey Island game.
Sure.
Which is interesting since he has a much bigger presence in this game than he does like any other time, I think.
In Tales? Murray?
Yeah, even if it was just the 3rd episode, he's like a major part of that story.
He's not that major. He's not. I don't know.
For that one chapter, he has a bigger. Because I think, like, I haven't played Escape yet, so I can't say. But at least in Curse, Murray is really just like a recurring background gag. So I like that he gets to be, like, not a massive, but a somewhat bigger part of the story in episode 3 of Tales.
Mm-hmm. So Elaine was in on it to expose the voodoo lady, but she's still saying, like, you weren't supposed to kill Guybrush. I thought we were on the same team, and clearly no. But for some reason, LeChuck is still expecting her loyalty out of her, probably just because he's drunk on the power of voodoo and he's not thinking clearly anymore.
Yeah.
But then Guybrush comes back to life, and then something that I kind of don't understand happens, which is that
I didn't really get this either.
Elaine leans into it and then just says, yeah, LeChuck, I'll marry you, and then becomes LeChuck's demon bride, and she accepts the voodoo and goes all dark mode and stuff.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure what the reasoning is, because that's like a big thing. Like the thing that I think it could be is just her having so much faith in Guybrush to be able, maybe from where she's at, she just can't. Well, I don't know, because we've seen how competent Elaine is. Even later, we see it. So it's weird that she goes along with this. I'm not sure what the benefit was. I don't doubt that there was a benefit. I'm just not really seeing it.
Yeah, I might. Maybe it's just like to motivate Guybrush to do the thing that he needs to do.
Yeah,
but that wasn't explained. If that's it,
maybe since Guybrush is already dead, maybe he's the only one who can do this from the spirit world. Like maybe Elaine can't go and like do the stuff with La Esponja Grande. But it's not really explained, yeah, like you said.
Yeah, maybe it's just to get LeChuck not focused on Guybrush, to say like, hey, you have me right now, so don't follow him into places where you're gonna mess up his quest. Just I'm a voodoo lady now, so
yeah, like he punches Guybrush back through the portal. Maybe she just wants him to be like, oh, you won, don't worry about Guybrush, he's dead.
Yeah, look at me, I've shopped at Hot Topic.
Boy, we were talking about how Elaine's voice actress, Alexandra Boyd, killed it in the last episode. She does a great job here too, doing like selling the demonic version of herself.
Yeah, it's really good. Is she coming back for return?
Yeah, she was one of the first confirmed ones.
That's excellent. She's
Dominic.
great.
Yeah, I feel like that's a reason why I'm not super excited to play Escape, is because she doesn't have that voice. She just has someone different, and I hear she's not as good.
Well,
I can't say.
So then you go back to you go back to the underworld, and now your plan is to somehow come back to life fully and marry your spirit to your body. Which, of course, has not been buried and is used as the holder for a dartboard on Flotsam Island in Club 41.
What an amazing reveal. Just the look on his body's face, just holding the stupid dartboard. You find out they're having a wake for you at Club 41, and the only people there are Grindstump and Bug-Eye.
Yeah, two antagonists, I would call them, to Guybrush's success. I don't know why they showed up.
Yeah, especially Bug-Eye. Like, Grindstump, you can tell, was kind of... he was endeared to Guybrush, but Bug-Eye had nothing but contempt for you. Mm-hmm. Maybe he just wanted to drink. He probably didn't know there was a wake.
Yeah, that's probably true. So, you do a lot of stuff. You use that locket again that lets someone's spirit enter someone else's body. And you need to use it to put your own spirit into your own body. Excuse me, your own spirit into your own body, which makes you a zombie. And
one thing we should mention is the reason Guybrush is able to do this, to return in these different places, is because there are rifts opening up in the pirate spirit world due to LeChuck trying to open up the portal to there to suck up all of the voodoo energy to become this crazy powerful pirate god. So his whole plan with like all the monkeys he is returning was to put them in very specific spots to open up a like part of a ritual to open up this portal to the spirit world, to use the sponge to soak up voodoo energy. That's the big motivation and plan.
Yeah. So what you're doing, in addition to just trying to get your zombie body back, is you're trying to fulfill a recipe that minimizes the size and effect of the sponge, and it's basically the opposite recipe to what you did in the last episode, where in the last episode you said you need something really stinky. Okay, this time you need something that minimizes smell, and you use deodorant and stuff like that.
Yeah, Reginald's deodorant.
You needed the Sixth Sense, now you need something that is secret and you can't know.
Yeah, it's interesting that it's more or less the same sort of puzzle from the last episode, but I like that it kind of turns it on its head.
Yeah, there's a lot of like borrowed ideas from the entire rest of the season in this episode. Like the 3 trials I think they're a callback to Secret of Monkey Island, but I think they're also a callback to episode 1 of this, where you need to go through everything for the newspaper and create stories of pirate legacy, and then you need to sort of redo the recipe for the sponge. And at the end of this episode, you have the classic LeChuck bounces you around the battlefield while you are sort of stuck in place, just doing a thing in each room. Yeah, so there's just like a lot of recapturing of the earlier mechanics of this game, and every time they do that, it's the best instance of it I've seen.
Totally. We were talking about how in episode 3, the part with the 2 manatees, it felt like it felt like it was kind of along the same lines as Insult Sword Fighting, but just done in a much better, less annoying way. And I feel the same about like the part with Morgan here, and just other puzzles throughout the episode that just really iterate on these in great ways.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's a good episode.
Yeah. Who was it you said who they said this was like one of their favorite episodes
Dan
they've
Connors.
ever done at Telltale?
So he was the CEO of Telltale at the time and is now the person running Skunk Ape.
Oh, okay, cool. What were the other ones? It was episode 1 of Walking Dead season 1.
Yeah, it was
there
the
a Sam and
Dangerous
Max
3
one?
SpongeBob or SpongeBob.
Strong.
And I don't think there was a Sam and Max one, because what he was saying, he was answering the question of which Sam and Max. I don't know why I said SpongeBob. Which Sam and Max episode, or which Telltale episodes other than Sam and Max are your favorites?
Okay.
Because
cool. Yeah, I totally agree. I think I would put
the
this
remaster.
Yeah, I totally agree. I would put this episode way up there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, same here. It's one of the best ones, especially if you're limiting it to like the point and click adventure ones. It's one of the best ones for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that I've just really taken to The Walking Dead seasons 1 and 2, and I have a lot of episodes in there that I really like. Episode 1 of season 1, episode 5 of season 1, episode 5 season 2. All 3 of those are probably in my top 5 Telltale episodes now.
Wow.
But yeah, this is up there, and like he said, Dangeresque 3 is also up there. Like we said earlier, there's a bunch of stuff in Devil's Playhouse, but this is up there.
I'm gonna say it. I think this is, at least so far, my number 1.
Whoa!
Just because, like, as much as I love Walking Dead, I had a great time with those. Monkey Island just speaks more to my taste and what I love. So I think the best episode of that is definitely gonna be at the top for me.
Wow, Dustin, you really slammed the hammer down.
Yeah, you know what? I'm not afraid to say it. I'm not afraid to go there.
Yeah, you're ballsy.
That's what they call me down at the ranch.
Down at the saloon.
They say it's ballsy Dustin.
So something that I thought was interesting was they said that the way that you get back to life is the same way that LeChuck did once upon a time, a long time ago. And so you do the thing LeChuck did, and then you're a ghost, and then you're a zombie. You're on the same path that LeChuck did through the games.
Exactly.
In game 1, he was a ghost. In game 2, he was a zombie. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think that's part of why Elaine isn't all that. She's upset when Guybrush is dead, but she's not sobbing, going out of her mind with grief for him, because I feel like she knows that this is something that Guybrush can get out of. In the last episode, she was really taken aback and sad that Guybrush was killed. But in this episode, she's more subdued, and I think it's because she knows this is what Guybrush can do. If LeChuck can do it, so can Guybrush.
Yeah, so maybe next time he's a demon. Maybe next time Guybrush is a statue. Maybe he goes...
We'll see.
Maybe who's to say?
Yeah,
Ron Gilbert.
We have the return of Benang in this episode too.
We do. We have the return of Benang, except when you click it multiple times, he doesn't start saying Benang really weird, which I thought was missed.
Yeah, but we learn that in the world of Monkey Island, Benang is like grog for monkeys.
Have we ever seen Benang in a CSI?
I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think CSI is cool enough.
Nor was it in Bone, to my knowledge, right?
Well, I think Benang's debut was in season 2 of season 2 of Sam and Max, right?
Not even season 1?
No, I think it made its debut in season 2.
I thought it was in season 1. I'm looking up Benang.
Okay.
Benang is a drink made out of banana. Okay, so it says it first appeared in Maui Better Blues, that classic episode. Oh, okay, but I'm on the Sam and Max wiki. They might just be counting that. Is if there was... Yeah, okay, so the Monkey Island wiki also says that it first appeared in Maui Better Blues.
Yeah, because I think it's a drink for the sea monkeys.
Mm-hmm. If you click on the bottle of Benang in Club 41 multiple times, Guybrush will do a dance with Jacques the Monkey. This same dance can be seen in the 3rd episode of Back to the Future, Citizen Brown, when Marty McFly asks a hypnotized Biff to do the chicken dance.
Yeah, I think it's just Guybrush's standard dance animation they use a few times. I know Marty does that at the science fair too.
Don't you get kind of annoyed when they've got a running gag like this that they do in almost all their games, and then sometimes later they're just like, I'm not going to put it in Batman though.
No, I mean, I guess I get it. I don't think they should be obligated to
I do.
Put
I think that Benang should be in
it. Every
Telltale game, and if it's not in Wolf Among Us Season 2 or The Expanse, I'm calling shenanigans.
We'll cancel this show right here. Don't tempt us.
Yeah, Expanse, you're looking pretty all right, but if I don't see some powdered space Benang in there, I'll say poofed.
Yeah, I bet you're glad you didn't name the podcast Benang Now.
Was it going to be Benang Now?
No, Benang right.
Oh.
Now I bet you're...
Yeah, no, it was going to be Benang the podcast.
That would have been good too, but I think telling the tale is too good to pass up. But Benang is also good.
I also thought of Podnang, which is... Podnang is so many...
That
leaps.
Even fans of Telltale and Benang would not get that, I think.
Yeah, because you need to be a pretty firm Telltale fan to know about Benang. And then also, even that person would probably be like, "Podning, I don't know." Is that
That's maybe you should have gone back to the drawing board on that one.
Yeah. So eventually you're not a zombie anymore. You get full rejuvenation, full regular body. And you go to LeChuck's ship. And
Well, no, you're still a zombie, but your spirit is married to your zombified body now. Like, so you've been using the locket to put your spirit back in your body, but it's only temporary. So the voodoo lady tells you that in her cell on Flotsam Island, she had spirit gum, which will merge the two together and just keep you in your body permanently. But you're still very much zombified in green.
Okay, I might be misremembering the order of events here. When do you stop being green?
That's at the very end. That's not until after you've won. Until
Okay.
you've beaten the episode.
So LeChuck's throwing you here and there, hither and thither, all about his ship, and you can't walk around while he does this for some reason.
I think it's just because LeChuck is just beating Guybrush. He's really wailing on Guybrush this time. And I think it's that combined with being in your zombified body. Guybrush is just too weak to even do that much. Like, you see him... there's a part here where you have to lift a broken door, and he's just really struggling here.
Yeah. Very true.
It's intense. This whole final, like, LeChuck's always kind of tried to kill you, kind of, but this time I think he means it.
Yeah, after the note in my notes, the voodoo lady should just communicate better. I have the note that the end boss fight arena is one of the best we've seen, I think, because we've seen set piece puzzles like this as the boss fights for like we've seen it in Sam and Max a couple times. We've seen it in like the Trogdor fight, stuff like that. But the mer people are all swimming toward LeChuck. They're mad at LeChuck. LeChuck makes some non-binary phobic remark about the mer people's sexuality that I think gets brushed under the table because it's 2009. And then the mer people all throw their tridents at him, and he stops time. So there's this like wall of tridents flying through the air, about to hit LeChuck's ship, but they're just frozen in midair. And
I kept thinking my game was fucking up. I kept forgetting that time froze, and I would just see the trident stuck in the air, and I'd be like, oh, did something go wrong? Oh, no, that's how it's supposed to be.
Oh, it's cool if you remember.
It
looks
great
cool if you know it's not wrong.
Yeah, but I just feel like every single time it would cut back to one of these scenes, every single time I'd be like, what's that doing? Oh, wait, no, now it's cool.
Yeah, it does have the unfortunate similarity to a very common video game glitch where you just see stuff floating in air, like T-posing or something. It looks kind of like that. But no, it's on purpose. The tridents are just stopped. And there's a horde of skeletons that are coming from the depths of depravity to fight Elaine, and she's fighting them all off. And there's like the sky is red and the ocean is red and all this stuff's happening. It's so cool. Yeah.
I think this is like the only time in any Monkey Island game that I've played that feels like an actual final showdown with LeChuck. Like, there's such good build up to it. The set piece is great. In all the other Monkey Island games, like, yeah, you're battling LeChuck, but it still feels pretty jokey. Like, even in 2, you're being, like, teleported around, and you're just like,
well, in 2,
let's talk about this.
2 is, like, the complete opposite end of this, where it intentionally tries to belittle the fight you're having with LeChuck in order to make you think that it's all in your head. So, but like, even that's the far opposite. But you're right. Like, if you are going for the epic vibe, I think this is the peak of that.
Yeah, totally. And it works so well. I think I said this in another episode, but I think at the time I was a little hesitant because well, maybe hesitant's not the word, but I was thinking about how Monkey Island is a very jokey series, and this season is like the one time where it feels like there's actual stakes, actual emotion in the storytelling. And I wasn't sure if it would work for a series that's always been so jokey, but I think it works perfectly.
Yeah, I will say that if you compare the tone of Monkey Island's 1 or 2 with Tales, they don't feel like the same design DNA at all.
Yeah.
They just don't. Every Monkey Island game feels so different from each other, at least starting with 2.
Mm-hmm.
And this game feels more like a Sam & Max game in a lot of ways, where the stakes... It's funny, but the stakes do ramp up to seriousness eventually.
Yeah, and Mitchell, I'm gonna drop another hammer down.
Okay.
I think over the course of the whole Monkey Island series,
Mm-hmm.
I think Tails is my favorite one.
Whoa!
I don't know if it's the best. I think 2 is still probably the better game, but I think overall Tails is my favorite in the whole series. I think there's just so much that it does better even. Like we've talked about the voice acting. I think the storytelling is a lot better for the most part. It makes 2, even though 2 is such a classic, to me it makes 2 feel kind of quaint. Like, it feels like a much smaller scale story and characters. And I just think this knocks it out of the park in so many other areas. Even if gameplay-wise 2 is the better one of the 2. But I think everything else puts Tails at the front of the list for me.
I think that if I were to rank your hot takes...
Is that up there?
It's my favorite one! I disagree more with that one than I do with this episode being the best Telltale game, is what I'll say.
Ooh. Yeah, I mean...
I think this is genuinely very high up on my list of best Telltale games. I still think that Secret and 2 are better games than Tales of Monkey Island, though.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying. I think overall 2 is probably the better... I definitely put this over 1. I think 1... You know what? I think I might even... Well, I don't know. I'm saying I might even put Curse over 1, but I don't know. Yeah. I don't think I can say... I think the graphics are doing a lot of the heavy lifting for Curse.
Yeah, but that is part of it. It's not like that's not valid.
Yeah, I mean, that's part of why Tales is my favorite one, is all the other things besides the gameplay. I think we've sung the praises of how good all the voice actors do, all these breakout characters like Winslow and Morgan.
Those are the 2. Let's not say all these and then say all of them that are 2 of them.
It still has a lot of good ones. I like Coronado de Cava. I like all of the pirates in the Manatee. But still, yeah, I think this does a lot of things better than 2, and things that are important to me. But yeah, I can't say it's better, but I love it. I love Tales so much. And something I think is interesting is I've been talking to a lot of friends who've been playing through the Monkey Island series, and it feels like everyone has a different favorite.
Who are you talking about? What are the popular favorites?
They're not friends, but
okay.
Like one friend likes 2 best, one likes Curse best. I have another who likes the first one the best. I like Tales the best. No one likes Escape the best.
Yeah, I really would like to play Escape before Return comes out next week.
Yeah, same. I don't know if I'll get to because it's such a narrow time frame, but I'm going to try.
Maybe I'll play it on... Maybe I'll stream it on a Discord server with some friends, and we can all watch Escape.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Then we can both experience it at the same time.
Yeah, we can do that. Yeah, I mean, number 2 is my favorite. I've only played 1, 2, Curse, and Tales. I've not played Escape, so I can't speak on Escape, but, it seems like it might be the worst. My order had previously been 2 is the best, then Tales, then 1, then Curse.
Mm-hmm.
And despite really finding some new stuff I like about this series, or this season, while we've been playing through it, I think my appreciation of it has actually gone up. I still think that somehow it made it go down below Secret for me.
I think the thing is, Tales has some very high highs, but also some lows. Like, the first couple episodes are not really... Well, you were saying you love the first one. Well, love might be a strong word, but, you like one a lot, but there are some dips in this season.
It's inconsistent, and I think that really hurts it.
And I can agree to that, but I just think the highs are so high that it really elevates it to... And especially this episode. I think this episode, after playing through all of them, it makes me really think about all the things I've really enjoyed throughout the whole season. And it just puts it right up there for me.
It makes me think about some things that I really like at first, and then they don't nail the ending, and then that kind of sours it forever. But, like, is that fair, really? I was thinking about WandaVision in this regard. Because WandaVision is a show that there was 9 episodes, and for the first, 4 or 5, I was really on board. I really liked what it was doing. I liked what it was saying. I liked the style of how it was presenting, like the cinematography of it, a lot. Did you see WandaVision?
No, I did not watch it.
Do you know what it's about?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, just the TV stuff they were doing, the references to other TV shows, the way they were using those references to inform the story of this character's mindset, like, throughout the show. I really liked it. And then I really did not like the last 2 episodes. I thought it fell apart almost completely. And I've been thinking about that show ever since it finished, of like, do I say I really like WandaVision? Because I really, really like the first half of that show. And the later episodes don't make the first few episodes not exist anymore. Mm-hmm. But it does.
It is part of
my
it, though.
Enjoyment. Yeah, it's part of it. And I can say, like, Twin Peaks is another one of my favorite shows. And in the middle of Twin Peaks, there's like 4 or 5 episodes that are complete horse ass, like complete not anything bad episodes. And those, because they're in the middle, I think don't matter to me as much, because I like the end and I like the beginning a lot.
Right. Those are the important parts.
Yeah, so maybe, I guess the takeaway here is, maybe it's more important to have the good parts in a good place than to have more good things.
Yeah. Maybe, like, I feel like it makes the lower parts in the middle not feel as damaging.
Yeah, is because if the last episode of your thing, like this season of Monkey Island, is incredible, then I'm going to leave it thinking like, oh, that was great. But then I need to force myself to recognize, I just spent 4 episodes actually thinking pretty lowly of it compared to my memory. Not lowly in general of like, oh, this is a bad game, but worse than I remembered. And then episode 5 brought it way back up. Like, I don't know how to reconcile that and call that a good season or not. I mean, it is a good season. Just how good is it compared to some other stuff we've played is interesting. I like what you're saying, though.
Thanks.
I think for your taste, especially what I've learned about them doing this podcast, I totally buy it, and I think that there are many people out there that are probably going to agree with you that this is one of the best Telltale games, and this episode in particular is one of the best Telltale episodes. And maybe even agree with you, less so this, but maybe even agree with you that this season is the best Monkey Island game.
Yeah, I've gone around seeing some people's opinions, and I don't think I've seen anyone say this is like their favorite Monkey Island game, but I have seen a lot of people replay this now that Return is coming out and enjoy it a lot more than they remembered they did, or playing it for the first time and really enjoying it. Yeah, I feel like even the episodes before this, in general, I would say I had a higher opinion of than you did. And I think it's just because I like this world and these characters so much that it elevates it. Even if the puzzles aren't as good in some spots, even with the lows, I think it can only go so low in my mind because I like so much about it. Like, even if... Like, I would say the first episode is still my least favorite, but I still love it a lot because I'm here with my good friend Guybrush and Reginald Van Winslow.
Yeah.
We're having a great time, and I love the way it looks. I'm just having a great time.
I'm hoping for that reason that Escape turns out to be pretty enjoyable.
Yeah,
I'm
same.
going to hang out with my good friend Guybrush just for a little bit.
Like,
don't worry.
It's even if it's the worst Monkey Island, it's still a Monkey Island. But who knows? Maybe it's... I have a friend who, like, hates it. Who says it's, like, awful. But I've seen reviews for it that say it's still pretty good. So I'm happy to give it a chance.
I just looked it up on how long to beat Escape from Monkey Island. Main story 10.5 and completion is 12 hours. Pretty, I think it's a little longer than the original Monkey Islands, but those are old games, so that's pretty standard, I think.
Yeah, exactly. I'll go in with an open mind.
It's the only Monkey Island game to have ever gotten a physical console release.
Yeah, PS2.
Yeah, everything else is PC or digital only.
Yeah.
Actually, nothing's digital only. Even Tales got a physical release, but most of it's just PC.
Yeah. But kind of steering back to this episode of Tales.
Oh yeah, the good one.
How do you feel about this big final showdown with LeChuck?
It's very cool. I think that we've been playing a lot of Telltale games recently that try to subvert the expectation of the big showdown in the final episode. With season 2 of The Walking Dead especially, that showdown at the end is so quiet and lonely and stressy in comparison to an epic adventure end like this, that just seeing this approach again and seeing it in a way that is so successful is really refreshing, and it's just really fun. The puzzle is cool. It comes down to just a very simple thing. You need to use the cannon on the ship to shoot Guybrush back into the portal that's like really high into the sky.
Yeah.
Once you do that, you're good. And I think that's the episode. You don't need to do anything else after that.
There is one other small thing afterwards.
No, you're right. You're totally right.
Puts a little bow on it.
A ring around it, maybe you might call it.
Yeah. But when I was doing this, I was thinking about how something like this could be annoying. Like how you're really not given in very much time at all in any of these spots before LeChuck comes and just knocks the crap out of Guybrush.
Yeah.
But I think for the big final showdown, it really works because you want to feel that stress. You want to feel like, how the flip is Guybrush going to get out of this one? He's really letting me have it. But I can see it also being annoying to some people. But it's not a super complicated puzzle.
Yeah, I will admit that I went around a few more times than necessary because
Same.
I was... I think if they give you like 3 more seconds in each room, that would really go a long way into making it feel better. Because you are not given that much of a buffer room if you just know exactly what to do in each room in order to trigger the events that get you in the cannon and then the cannon firing at the thing.
Right.
Even if you know it all, which takes a few rounds to get a hand on, it's still pretty tricky to do it. And like, I don't love timing, actual difficult timing, being introduced into these point and click adventures. I think that it's like a weirdly different skill.
Yeah, I agree, but like I said, I do think it works here for this big final showdown where you kind of want to feel the stress. I'd much rather have this final showdown be tricky than be like super easy, than give you like a huge window of time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I get it. But I think the difficulty should probably be in the puzzle solving and not like clicking and how fast you can look on the screen and find an object. It hasn't been what the game has been testing you on up to this point. So it feels like an irrelevant test a little bit. But it does help the stress and the narrative, just the tone of everything. It makes it feel very... it could go either way. Maybe you don't win this one, even though you could keep on getting knocked around for infinity and not have it break down.
Yeah, there's no way to like fail this or get a game over or anything, but at the same, they do a lot to really make it feel like this could be the end of Guybrush. Like the whole time he's getting the shit beat out of him, and like anytime Guybrush talks, he's like coughing, he's like having the wind knocked out of him. He's really not doing well.
Yeah, good VO work on this scene for Guybrush, just making him sound really weak.
On all three of them, on Guybrush, Elaine, LeChuck, it's great, just all around. Like, you can feel the strained desperation in Guybrush. You can hear, like, anytime he and Elaine talk, you can feel, like, the stress and fear in Elaine. Guybrush is like, Plunder Bunny, and she goes, Picaroni!
Yeah.
And, like, LeChuck's... I really like the demonic filter they put on him. It's kind of what they do in 3, but up until now in Tales, he hasn't had this, so it goes a long way of making him feel like, oh, he's really powerful. He could probably win.
Yeah. I love all the little exchanges that Guybrush and Elaine have during this boss fight too. Anytime you want to talk to each other, she's very busy fighting off hordes of skeleton, but she's not upset to, oh, hey, what's up? What's going on?
Yeah, she knows that Guybrush has a plan and she will help out and she knows she has to help make this work.
Yeah. So you get sent back through the portal to the underworld. LeChuck comes up and he's like halfway through the portal, and the way they kill him is that his body needs to be stabbed on the earthly realm side by Elaine, at the same time that his soul is stabbed in the crossroads by Morgan Le Fay. So they're helping each other out. They're stabbing him at the same time, which is just enough to both kill LeChuck, but also, unfortunately, close the tear to the crossroads with Guybrush stuck inside.
Yeah, so you learn from Caleb, who we didn't really mention up until now, but he's just a guy in the crossroads, that you can close the portal by a sacrifice of your own. And so Guybrush sacrifices his last string of life to close this portal and kill LeChuck.
Yeah, so it's worth noting that the recipe for opening the portal was something related to courage, something related to
a guide,
something
a guide is the dog,
roundness, and then, I think.
Oh yeah,
and then a sacrifice.
Yeah, I like that the courage is liquid courage, i.e. grog.
Yeah, all of them are.
It's very clever.
It's literally a guide dog, or it's literally a drink that makes you more courageous.
Yeah. Oh, the second one is just an anchor, which you find, which isn't that creative, but the other ones are.
Yeah.
So.
But then, after being stuck there for a long time with only a few things in your inventory, you realize that your wedding ring is a ring that represents all 4 of those things: courage, anchor, guide, and a sacrifice. So then you put that there, and then you can get transferred back to the mortal world, and you're all good. That's the end of the game.
How do you feel about Elaine's wedding ring being with you for the entire season? Yeah. You never use it, but then it's used for like the final.
It paid off. It paid off pretty well. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I like it's very sweet.
In our episode on episode 2, I forgot what it was going to be. So when Elaine says...
I remembered it, but didn't want to say.
Yeah, I could tell. When Elaine gives you the ring and says, okay, don't lose it, and then he looks at the screen and is like... Like I would do. Like I would lose something.
The Guybrush Threepwood.
Casually losing an important thing never happens. And I bought it. You know, what they were doing was, okay, so he's going to lose it. They're trying to make you think that. But no, he doesn't the whole time. And it just is used at the end to bring him back. It's the very last item in the game that you use. Very well executed. Good red herring on the idea that you might lose it. Mm-hmm. Good stuff. Good. This episode's really well written.
You know what? Something I really like. I didn't think about it until now, but I like that even though Guybrush is the one who like does all the setup to get LeChuck trapped, it's Elaine and Morgan that do the finishing blows against him. I like the teamwork between all of them.
Mm-hmm. Which is interesting because I don't think Morgan and Elaine have ever... Well, they were mad at each other in the last episode, so they had a fight. Yeah. But outside of that, like, pox-addled Elaine personality, I don't think they've ever talked.
Yeah. Well, I think one thing, too, is I don't think Elaine knew that Morgan was helping out. I think she just assumed, like, Guybrush would attack him from the other side or something.
Yeah.
But no, it's Elaine attacks on the physical world, and Morgan's spirit kills him on the spirit side. And that kills LeChuck in both.
So Guybrush goes back to the ship that Winslow and Elaine are on, and it's a happy ever after moment. Elaine says what I was thinking the whole time, and probably a lot of Spanish-speaking people were thinking the whole time, which is that it's supposed to be pronounced esponja with a HJ rather than esponja.
Yeah, she said it's been bothering her the whole time.
It's been bothering her the whole time. Probably added very late in development as a response to fan feedback. But yeah, I like that. I like that joke a lot. Then the credits roll, and then after the credits, you get this scene with Morgan and the Voodoo Lady, where Morgan reveals that she was working for the Voodoo Lady in secret the whole time. The Voodoo Lady gives Morgan her life back, so she comes back to life and says very ominously, yeah, we're not done. You have something else to do. And then there was no Monkey Island games for 13 years.
Yeah, whoops.
Yeah, 13 years after that setup for whatever the Voodoo Lady was actually doing.
Morgan brings the Voodoo Lady a vial of LeChuck juice.
Mm-hmm. Gross. Yeah,
well, she also says... I guess it sounds like she's not necessarily... She's going to let her go back to the land of the living, but it sounded like she's still going to be a ghost pirate. She mentions ghost pirate hunter Morgan Le Fay.
Yeah. I guess it depends on what the Voodoo Lady just gave her.
Yeah.
Like, did she actually give her a life back? Could the Voodoo Lady, even in her all-powerful magic form, do something like that? Or did she just sort of open a portal?
I totally forgot that Morgan's body in episode 4 is taken away. Do you think the Voodoo Lady might have had something to do with that? Like, it was the plan. I don't think it was the plan for her to get killed by LeChuck, but do you think she had something to do with Morgan's missing body?
Maybe, or like a hungry bird?
Yeah, it could be a bird that was like ooh, dinner is served.
A big old vulture carried it away?
Yeah. Or like a crocodile.
Yeah, it could be your thing.
Maybe they'll explore that in return.
So, Dustin, Monkey Island fan that you are.
Yes. Hello.
Got any fan theories about the Voodoo Lady's whole thing? Why did she do any of what she did?
I honestly don't know. I don't know what it could be.
Think, like, what could the purpose of any of this be?
Yeah, but I like that they keep it mysterious. It makes me wonder, like, oh, what could they do with this? Like, I don't feel like I'm ripped off by not getting an explanation to her whole deal.
Yeah, so I could imagine that if they were playing through all the Monkey Island games to get ready for development of Return, that seeing something like this could be a big reason that you'd think, oh, maybe we could continue this story. Although we did already just talk about how we kind of don't expect them to pick up on this thread so much.
Yeah, I don't know why it just doesn't feel like something they would want to do.
Yeah.
I can't speak for them, of course. It's just kind of the impression I get.
Yeah, but if this is in the future of Tales of Monkey Island, the Voodoo Lady's presence is not something you can just do casually. You need to really think about what you're doing if this is in the future of this game.
And we know she's back in return, so I guess we'll see what exactly they do with her.
Mm-hmm.
I do feel like it would be kind of a disappointment if they just went back to her just being the ominous advice giver.
Yeah, I do too. That wouldn't be great.
I feel like I'm prepared for that to be the route they're going down.
I mean, she can still do that also.
Yeah, but if that's like her only purpose.
Mm-hmm. Also, someone called the pox of LeChuck LeChuckenpox in this episode.
And Guybrush is like, oh, that's great. We should have just called it that.
That's so much better, yeah. I wonder if that was also fan feedback of, like, they should have called it LeChuckenpox.
I like that. I feel like that is something, if that's the way it played out, that is something they could only do in episodic format.
Yeah, I guess you gotta really weigh your pros and cons. It's one of the pros.
Yeah, if it wasn't episodic, you wouldn't have gotten that joke about
you can do in-jokes with the forum. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's another post-credit scene.
Oh, yeah, there's two. Can you believe there's going to be a season 3 of Sam and Max?
Yeah. So they do a pan up to the flag on the top of a mast of a ship, and it's the Jolly Roger, except it's Max's skull. And then it says SamandMax2010.com on the bottom
I remember
of the screen.
This was huge when I played this. I was like, oh, Sam and Max is back. Oh, boy.
So I went there. I went to the website. Did you do this recently?
I did not. I just assumed it was down.
It is absolutely down. You can buy it.
Wow.
I think that you should. I think that there's a game out there. There's a fairly well-known game out there that will just give you a link to your website if you buy it. That's pretty good.
Yeah, let's make it the domain of telling the tale.
Fuck. Okay. I do want to do that.
So yeah, I think we've sung the praises of this episode. It's no surprise this one's the best of the season. But are there any other little things you wanted to bring up?
Hang on. So I just went there again to look at what it says, and it says the domain is for sale. To purchase, call afternick.com at a phone number. I don't want to call a website on the phone.
I don't want to talk to someone.
Yeah. So it's for sale.
I wonder how much.
Okay, it says that I can get a price in this if I... Yeah.
You're legit thinking about it now?
Yeah.
Yeah, I hope not very many people listen to this episode and jump on it.
Well, there's some time between us recording it and me uploading it, so I hope
there's a ticking clock.
Okay.
One thing I enjoy about this episode, so at the beginning with the ferryman, you need to
Sorry, everyone, for taking some time to...
But you gotta get 2 coins, and this is a reference to a myth. I think it's pronounced Charon's Obel, which is a myth about having 2 coins put on your eyes when you die to pay to use the ferry to the underworld.
This is the second instance of Charon's Obel that I've seen in a video game this month.
What was the other one?
It's the entire premise for the game The Forgotten City.
Wow.
Yeah. So I was ready for that. What's up with that?
It's neat. I like having that little mythology for something like this. Isn't there something like that in Sam and Max as well? I think it's just the soul coin you need to get on the subway. So kind of similar.
Yeah. I mean, the subway is the river Styx. It says so on the wall. So you need a coin.
2 Telltale games.
Yeah, it's 2 Telltale games. It's just I guess video games really like this idea of coins that you give to the Grim Reaper. What a thing.
What do you know about that?
Well, what do you do?
I like that Reginald Van Winslow hooks up with Anemone. One of the mer people. I think that's a great little pairing they got going on.
Yeah, that's fun. That's cool. I hope that sticks around if we see Winslow in a prominent role in this next game.
Man, that's just... It's really kind of building myself up for disappointment, being like, how much of this are they going to carry over?
I hope Winslow's in it. I hope Morgan's in it. I hope the Voodoo Lady storyline is fulfilled.
I hope all the pirates and the manatee come back.
I hope the manatee itself is back.
Both manatees, because
I hope more manatees. Loving relationship. Expand the manatee population in this universe.
I want more manatees than anyone else.
Well, it's interesting to want these things and then also be like, I kind of want to see what you were going to do with number 3 originally, with the theme park. This game has a lot of duties, unfortunately. That's not a good place to be if
and I'm not going to hold it against this for not ticking off all of those boxes. They're just kind of hopes and wishes, but I do want to judge the game on the game itself rather than what I want.
Oh, what were you going to say?
You know what's kind of interesting? Something I'm thinking about. I think Tales might be like the only game where I really want to see stuff come back. Like, I'm thinking about like characters in Curse and even 2 and 1. Like, we know we're getting characters from those, but I don't think there's like anything there where I'd be like really disappointed. Like the Pirates of Low Moral Fiber from 1 and 2, I can take or leave them. I don't think anything from 3 I'd be super excited to see come back. I mean, I'd be happy to see them come back.
Well, I'm stoked to see Stan come back. We know Stan's there.
Yeah, but Stan's like a mainstay. He's like Murray at this point, where it's like, well, it would just feel weird not having him at all. But like smaller characters, like I really want to see Winslow and Morgan come back, but like even all the characters from 2, I'm like, they served their purpose there. I don't need like all the pirates you get the map pieces from, or even the barbers from Curse. I think that says a lot about the characterization in this game.
Well, we'll just have to see. It's in 9 days from this recording, so
won't be too far off.
Won't be too far. Dustin, why don't we head into our segments?
I would love nothing more than to go into our segments.
What's your golden moment?
It's just got to be the showdown at the end. It's got to be. It's so cool. It's kind of hard. This episode has a lot of potential golden moments. I think the part with the ring is really good, the payoff, but we sung its praises so much. I just think this does such a good job of having a final battle that actually feels like the big final confrontation against LeChuck, where he means fucking business this time. Like, in the other games, he's always tried to kill you, but it's always still felt very jokey.
Yeah, they even comment on that, like, you've never outwardly tried to kill me so hard before.
Yeah, and LeChuck says, it was the biggest mistake of my life.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, it's great. We already talked about why this scene is so great. I don't need to go into it anymore. What's your golden moment?
Mine is the Morgan Le Fay sword fighting compliment insult thing.
Definitely. That would probably be my next one. I think it's the best puzzle in the game.
Mm-hmm. One of the best puzzles we've seen on the podcast so far.
Yeah, and I think we were discussing this before, but it really makes me kind of reevaluate insult sword fighting in general.
Yeah.
About how we discussed it before, but still. It's such like a classic moment in Monkey Island, but in retrospect, I don't think it's very good.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny, but as a gameplay mechanic, it's a slog. It's not fun to get all of these insults. And here you're just given all of them, and it's done in such an interesting way that it's great.
Potent pickup.
I don't know if we're gonna have the same one, but I had to give it to Franklin the dog.
Yeah, mine is the ring.
Yeah, also very good.
But yeah, Franklin the dog. I also like that you can have at one point in this episode just some money.
Yeah, some money you can just use for like the grog machine, or you give it to the ferryman.
They call it a whole 8.
Yeah, a whole 8, not a piece of 8, whole 8. That's great.
This is the whole deal. It's a lot of money.
But the ring is a very good pick.
Yeah, I'm definitely with the ring on that one. Franklin the dog is good though. I like that little puppy.
Yeah, I love dogs. I love having this little dog. So Caleb says he's his dog, but then he says he's not. Something about Caleb is he's a liar.
Yeah, well, he says things and then the opposite of those things. So one of them's the truth, and the other is a lie, which means that as much as a liar he is, he's also a pretty honest person.
I guess I can't be too mad at him.
Yeah, for every lie he's told the truth.
He's a good character, too. He's not like a major character, but he's still memorable. He has a presence.
I believe Caleb, or something of that name, like that name's a play on something having to do with underworld mythology.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I'm only kind of remembering what it is, but that was something that popped in my head. I should look that up later.
Well, something about Caleb is that's just the name he gives you. It doesn't... Who knows if that's his real name, because he's told everyone else different names.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can go through a whole... You can ask him what his name is, and he'll go through like a whole list. One of them's Squinky.
I love Squinky. He should be called Squinky.
Yeah. Squinky would be very good. A reference to Sam and Max Season 1, Episode 1.
Who's your weekly guy?
I am giving it to Guybrush this episode.
Yeah.
There's so many good weekly guys in this episode. Everyone brings it 100%, but Guybrush is the one who goes through so much in this episode. And it's just cool what they do with him with like, you're a ghost and now you're a zombie. And his voice actor does such a good job, not just in the whole season, but I really love this part in the final battle where, like, he really sells that Guybrush is just getting the absolute shit kicked out of him.
Yeah. I think I'm going to have to agree on Guybrush. I was thinking maybe Elaine, maybe Morgan. They both had very strong moments.
Yeah.
Especially Morgan. Morgan's a close number 2. But Guybrush, just as the protagonist, does a lot in this episode to bring it all together.
Mm-hmm. Although I do have a runner-up weekly guy.
Okay.
I couldn't give it to him just because he has such a minor presence, but I said my runner-up is the Ferryman.
Yeah, that's
just good. Because he has such a cool design, and he's funny. He's a funny character. I like when you smear dirt on the side of his boat, and he takes great pride in his boat. So you're like, hey, I think you got a little smudge there. And he's like, nay. And then you're like, no, yeah, it's right there. And he's like, oh, pig knuckles. And then he goes to clean it. I like how anytime you ask him a question, he just says ominously either yay or nay. But then sometimes he'll break from that. Like, if you ask him too many questions, he's like, look, just listen to me here. You do have a little shred of life left, whatever.
Do you have a weekly un-guy or an unweekly guy, depending on your nomenclature?
I don't. I love everyone in this episode. And every character that came back, I was like, it's them. I'm glad to see them again. Winslow comes back. Anemone comes back in a great way. I love seeing Grindstump and Bug-Eye back here. I guess if I had to give weekly unguide to anyone, it might be the pirate in the treasure hunting area. Just because he doesn't really do much, he's not that memorable, but I do like him. He is very funny. Guybrush says, so how'd it go with LeChuck back on Spoon Island? And he says, how do you think it went, smart guy?
Yeah, that's I guess worthy of unguy. I would probably give it to the voodoo lady just because I think that her plot might not have been thought through.
Maybe, but I think it's I mean, I said it earlier, I didn't feel like ripped off that we never got an explanation for it. It just leaves me wanting more. But I guess she does have kind of, for how big her role is in the story, she doesn't really have much of a presence in this episode.
I have a hard time believing that there's been 13 years of someone who used to work at Telltale just knowing how her plot was supposed to go. I kind of think that they just were going to make it up as they went.
Maybe, but I think that would have been fine if it came together in the end, which it didn't.
yeah, so it wasn't fine. There you go.
Do you have any linguistic gymnastics this episode?
No.
I have tons. Like, I felt like I had way more lines here than I have the last, 3 episodes.
Go for it.
Let's see, I already said the pig knuckles one. There's one part where, in the treasure hunting area, there's a skull on a sign, and Guybrush is kind of surprised. He's like, whew, I thought it was Murray. Not that I'm scared of Murray. Murray's a punk.
Yeah, that was good.
Let's see, just going through my list. So there's a part where you go through a portal, and there's a treasure chest in the jungle. And Guybrush has gotten so used to being able to just pick any lock on these treasure chests. And, but he can't now, he's a ghost. He says, "Oh man, it's locked, and I left my hook on my other body."
Yeah. This isn't a line, but I do have something that I liked, a discussion. They were talking about the actual purpose of LeChuck moving those monkeys around was that if they were all in the exact right place, it just opens a portal to the crossroads. Mm-hmm. And Winslow was talking about why there was this monkey here in the middle of the ocean above the manatee cave. And he said that LeChuck had convinced Elaine just right here in the middle of the ocean is actually this monkey's natural habitat.
Just right in this specific spot.
Yeah, because you think of Elaine as a very smart person a lot of the time, but maybe not. Maybe not.
I have a feeling. My theory is she didn't let LeChuck know that she knew. The way it came across to me was she knew LeChuck was just putting on this nice act, but she was letting him do it just to get a handle on what he was doing. Although she probably should have just said something when he was putting these monkeys around.
Yeah.
She should have probably known that something was not quite on the up and up.
I would have loved to see the conversation where LeChuck says, "Well, we're here. This is where this monkey is from.
This exact spot in the middle of the ocean."
And Elaine has to go, "Yes,
that sounds right.
I concur."
He seems happy here.
We all agree. We all love this. This is good.
One thing I like, I guess it's not like a funny line, but I like when LeChuck is just pummeling Guybrush around the ship, and he brings up various things, like he talks about Morgan. He's like, "Did you tell your wife about Morgan yet?" But Elaine's just like, "What? Who cares? I know." Like, I like that she trusts Guybrush enough to know that nothing happened between the two.
Yeah.
Even when it seemed like maybe they should. But,
is that a real opinion you have?
Well, I don't think that they should have, but it just seems like these two are a good match for one another. Like, they bring up a few times, they could really just, be together and just sail the seas and be pirates together.
Well, you and I have had a deep conversation about how Family Guy should probably just have Peter and Lois break up.
Yeah, what a thing to bring up on our Monkey Island.
Yeah,
maybe they can get to that in
before.
the Telltale season of Family Guy.
We've talked about how Joe and Peter should potentially swap lives and wives.
Yeah.
Lives and wives.
Lives and wives. That could be the name of the episode.
And I don't know why we think... I really don't know why we think that. but we do.
Well,
and
I think
it would be good.
It's just because of that one episode where Peter and Bonnie really hit it off. I don't think there's anything going on between Lois and Joe. I mean, they're friendly with each other.
Well, I think that this is not... Actually, I've decided we're not doing it. I've decided we're not having a conversation.
the kibosh on that.
Yeah,
well,
that's been our episode.
Well, hold on. I have a couple more
okay.
lines. Just since you don't have that many, I'm gonna go through them. There's when Guybrush comes back to the ship and Elaine is still under LeChuck's spell. She's gonna attack him with the cutlass again, and she says, "Are you ready this time?" And Guybrush just says, "Ready for what, sweetums?" There's a part where this might be my favorite line in the whole episode. It's you're talking to Grindstump, and Guybrush is asking about his body. He says, "And why am I posed like that?" And Grindstump says, "It's zany. The customers love it."
It's too zany. A little too zany.
You've brought that up to me before.
The idea of something being too zany, I definitely have. It's a turnoff when something's a little too zany.
I think it's fine if the purpose is to be too zany, but you don't want something too zany in a series that's just zany enough.
Yeah.
My last one I'll say
I don't like Crash Bandicoot's crossed eyes on the cover of Crash Bandicoot games whenever he has crossed eyes and his tongue's out. Too zany. Too zany.
I get where you're coming from. I just kind of think of Crash Bandicoot as a zany character, but I think that might be because one of the first games I ever played in the Crash series was Twinsanity, so I was just used to that.
Oh, I don't think it's outside of his character. I think that Crash Bandicoot is a very zany character. I don't like that. And that's why I don't like him that much.
That's fair enough. But the last one I'll say is when LeChuck is pummeling Guybrush, and he says, "You always wanted to be a pirate, didn't you?" And Guybrush very weakly says, "Or a fireman, or an astronaut, you know."
Yeah.
I have some other ones, but I'm going to cut myself off. I'm going to exercise restraint.
All right. Well, Dustin, thank you for joining me through these Tales of Monkey Island. That's been
my pleasure.
Our series of episodes on this season. We will be back with a very special. I had a throat in my throat. With a very special episode on Return to Monkey Island, the upcoming Terrible Toy Box game.
I'm glad that's the direction it went in, because after you said terrible, I was going to be like, oh, geez.
I wonder if they have that fear a lot.
Yeah, terrible toy box. Well, why would I want to play something terrible?
This game is terrible. Toy Box's new foray into point-and-click adventure.
Oh, man. That's both such a stretch and also like a legit thing that could happen.
Yeah. I hope that they've thought that through. And we'll be back with more regular Telltale stuff after that. But until next time, I'll miss you.
Yeah, stay clean. Keep those ears waxed.